power's infinite. Right at your plan, detailed and intricate. Stay connected to them goals like a ligament. It ain't gon' happen overnight, it come in increments. Ain't no coincidences in my blood like insulin. Making music with my soul as the instrument. Stop trying to be the same when you different. Cause being true to yourself is so significant. Ay, 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 ay. I ain't trying to bother you. I'm just here to speak to the God in you.
Hey folks, take this journey with me as I unearth as much of the Ham family history as possible. I'm doing this for the generations to come. I'm not doing this for me, but I want my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren who haven't even been born yet to know their history. Don't leave it to anybody else in your particular family to speak on behalf and know everything about your family. You do the work. It may take some time. It may take some Googling. It may take whatever. Get in your car and drive to another state. Whatever it takes, do it. And then make sure, because people are going to question you, make sure that you have enough documentation to back up why you either say what you did or show what you did, or show a part of the history that is very unclear, or say something that people may say, no, it's really like this, but the truth is you found out and you have the evidence, okay? So please take this journey with me as I go back over 200 years in the Ham family ancestry, Ham family tree, just going back to the early 1800s. Actually, I'm gonna trickle into the 1700s. Let's go. Hey folks, I chose to start at the very top. What I want to do is go ahead and get started right away and not keep you too long. But as you can see here, I tried to put information here. I may add a little bit verbally, but at the very beginning, all the way back to 1817, was the estimated birth of our great-great-grandfather, Modica Ham. Modica Ham also was known as Mordecai Ham and Martin Ham. I believe Martin Ham, because it only showed up a couple of times, was like a comfort name for the enslaver. Then Matilda Ham is estimated to be born between 1815 and 1820. First number that I found was 1820. However, a couple other documents showed 1815. The 1880 census has her as 65. So I'm more entitled to go here, but I just wanted to put them both there because she's somewhere in between. All right. Both Modica and Matilda were born enslaved. Whew. They were enslaved in Waynes County, North Carolina. Waynes County eventually incorporated a town called Goldsboro. While they were in this category of enslavement, they formed a relationship as teenagers. The reason why I know they did that is because they wrote that down on 1866, saying that they've been in a relationship for 34 years. So they must have really had a crush on one another. The reason why I have married October 8th, 1866, and the reason why I say they were born enslaved is because the only way you could be on the register that they're on is if they were formerly enslaved prior to 1865, which was the Emancipation Proclamation that freed all African or all enslaved individuals in the United States. From this marriage, and that's why there's an M here, came 4 children. You got Louis, who was born in 1860, Cynthia, born in 1858. She also went by the name Vicey. You had Lucas, who is our great-grandfather, born in 1854, died in 1925. Believe it or not, his cause of death was ALS and a few other complications, but that was the main one. Over here, Elizabeth Ham is who Lucas married. Her maiden name was Starkey. She was born in estimated 1863. I have 1942 of the year of death. I don't have any confirmation, but I must tell you, what I saw in Freehold on the Ham grave marker in the cemetery had Elizabeth, 1942. I can't find any other Elizabeths that fall into a range other than her. So I put the question mark here, but this may be her. She may have passed away in Freehold. Moses was born in 1856. Again, that's one of Modica and Matilda's 4 children. Now, with Moses being born in 1856, at some point in time, he married Esther Joyner, so she became Esther Ham. Very interesting name, Esther and Mordecai. If anybody knows anything about the books or the Bible, Mordecai is a Hebrew name. Mordecai shows up in the book of Esther. I found that to be very interesting. Moses had a son named Henry Garfield Clark Ham, born in 1903. I put this here because he's married or was married to Leona Ham. Now, the weirdest thing is Leona Ham is my godmother, also my aunt, also the mother of my 2 cousins, and I think that they would find that interesting that Leona Ham was married to Garfield Clark Ham. And what I noticed, and I will continue to notice, is that the Ham uses first names multiple times through the family. So it is what it is. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, as far as the enslavers are concerned, I was able to track them existing back into the 1700s. Hey folks, you have no idea, but I'm in North Carolina right now, a town called Goldsboro, I believe.
Yes.
I've been chasing my roots all the way back to enslavement. I've gotten to 208 years. Bear with me as I'm tired. I got a man next to me. Believe it or not, everywhere I go on this journey, somebody's waiting for me. I pulled up in front of his house, looking at the other side of the street. I didn't see anything. I asked him, could I ask him a few questions? Tommy is his name. He came through for me. He walked me to his backyard. Tommy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
Let me show y'all what Tommy walked me to. You see those stones right there? Let me turn this around so you could actually see it better. Their last name was actually Ham. If you look at these stones and you look at the name on them, the last name is Ham. Penelope Ham. You look at the dates, it says July 5th, 1791 to when this guy died in 1859. These were the Ham enslavers. They enslaved anywhere between 8 and 50 people of African descent. Okay, so in everything I do, I always bring evidence. I know some of my family members will turn around and say, no, that's not true, or this isn't right, or he left something out. But whatever I do, I chase down the facts before I present anything to you. So to all my family members, to all my friends, to all my associates, to anybody that's in pursuit of finding their families enslavers, if their family has ever been enslaved, don't give up, get all the facts, do what you need to do. My name is Rusty, everybody knows me by that in my family. My name is John, last name Ham, and on all these markers here, there's the name Ham. This whole area right here was a plantation. It is now a beautiful community. Tommy was sharing a little bit about himself with me from New York, Brooklyn, and I told him that some of my family members from back in the day went to Brooklyn as well. But the bottom line is that to my family, this goes back into the 1700s. There's a person named Haywood Ham in there. I am 99% sure that he enslaved our my great-great-grandfather Modica. Not only that, but Luke Ham was born in Goldsboro, who is our great-grandfather, who I grew up with his picture on my wall in New Jersey. He was born here under the enslavers in 1855. So, there you have it, folks. I will continue on getting more information for everybody. I went into their estate and I noticed that I was able to find at least 8 names in the 1850s. So prior to that, there's so many pages, so many people involved in the estate of the enslaver. It seems like they kept moving enslaved Africans down the street, around the corner, giving them to other people, whatever. It was just crazy. So these are the things that I can pretty much say that existed. Again, M stands for married. So when you see an M here, you know that they got married. All right, so this is the start. This is how far I was able to get back to. Let me go ahead with the next generation. Hey folks, before I go on to the next generation, one thing that I wanted to share with you about Modica. Modica shows up on the 1870 census. But he doesn't show up on the 1880 census. So, as I went through every angle possible to determine what happened to Modica, and this is going to be something that I'm going to bring up later on, Ham seemed to have disappeared in the New Bern area. I don't want to bring that up now as like a big thing, but I'm going to share with you a little later why I have come to that conclusion, okay? So between 1870 and 1880, I am under the impression that Modica passed away. This marriage right here took place, let me grab something here real quick, took place in 1881. Modica was not present at this marriage. He was not a witness. There were 2 witnesses to this marriage documented. One witness was Moses. The other witness was Daniel Bryant. Remember that last name, Bryant. Daniel Bryant. A lot of us don't understand who Daniel Bryant is, but to the best of all my research, Daniel Bryant may be connected to Lillian Bryant, who is my grandmother. Now, let me explain that connection in detail. What I'm aware of is that Daniel Bryant, through documentations of a marriage that took place in the Ham family generations ago, was a witness. So my great-grandfather, Luke Ham, born into slavery in 1855, got married in 1881 to a woman named Elizabeth Starkey. Elizabeth Starkey became obviously Miss Elizabeth Ham. The witnesses of that marriage documented is Daniel Bryant. He was one of the witnesses. The other witness was, in documentation, Luke Ham's brother. So this is my first evidence of a connection between the Ham and the Bryant family. I bring you to this marker just so you know the depth of the research that I've done, and I wanted to pay homage, respect to this individual who passed away in 1912. As you can see, he served in the United States Army, and he was a member of the United States Colored Troops. Down this row are people that served in the same capacity who have since become remembered at this veteran cemetery. Okay? Just wanted to bring this to your attention. Remember this. A witness to Luke Ham's marriage to Elizabeth Starkey. Daniel Bryant. Okay? I wanted to share what I feel may have happened here, because in the 1880, last confirmation, in the 1880 census, Matilda Ham had assumed the role of head of household. Okay. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you as far as Modica is concerned. This generation right here is my great-grandparents. This generation right here is my grandparents. I will go over this quickly and explain exactly who's who. Remember, my great-grandfather was born enslaved. I can't say the same for Elizabeth Ham, because she was born approximately, or with an estimate of 1863. So, my great-grandfather was born, as a recap, in Goldsboro, North Carolina in 1854. They had 5 children. Henrielle, William, we called him Uncle Bill, Aunt Louise, Uncle George, Obviously, they're all deceased. This is my grandfather, Walter Ham Sr. This is his beautiful wife, Lily B. Ham. Her maiden name was Bryant. They're both deceased. They both spent a majority of the early part of their life in New Bern, North Carolina. They were married January 22nd, 1913. I want to tap into something real quick because we know where Walter Ham Sr. comes from. We followed the line from Modico and Matilda down through Lucas Ham and Elizabeth Ham. So we understand a couple of generations back where Walter Ham came from. Lillian B. Ham is a little bit, or has been a little bit, where we have to try to iron out a few wrinkles here, and I think I have my hand on the iron. So, one thing I want to clarify is that she was born in Pitt, North Carolina. That's what it says, but I really believe it means Pitt County, North Carolina. She was born to these two people, her father, Green Atkinson, and her mother, May Williams. So, I can tell you now that Green Atkinson was born in 1850. May Williams is a little bit of a mystery. However, May Williams will come into focus through Sally Rem. I have seen where Sally Rem has been heavily woven into our family, and in some ways it seems like the information shared with some of my relatives was that she is a part of the bloodline, mainly on the Lillian side. I don't find that to be true. So let me get into Sally Rem just a tad so that my family, and maybe some onlookers, because I'm sure when you get back into the 1800s, if you're trying to dig backwards, there's people that adopted people, the village was stronger. We don't have community today. Back then, they needed community just to survive. They needed a church just to survive. They needed each other just to barely survive. So today, everybody's on social media, but I digress. Anyway, Sally Rem, the history of her is that she was born to a mother named Nicey Jones. Nicey Jones was enslaved. Nicey Jones was impregnated by a person named Ellis Jones, who was Caucasian, European, whatever you want to call him. That individual, Ellis and Nicey, created Sally. Sally was born Sally Jones. Somewhere along the way, very early, probably before she turned 18, she somehow acquired the name Biddle. Sally Biddle. Then she married James Rem. When they got married, they had a bunch of kids. The Rems were from just outside of New Bern, North Carolina. Actually, the Rem family was an enslaver. and they owned a lot of property, and they had some slaves, and they actually created a fire department in their name. They kind of have a town marker where there's a little bit of the area called Rem, North Carolina. They had a like a local store. They have a church. So they had some things. They're still standing today, by the way. However, Sally married into the Rems and had several kids with the Rems. One of her children was Nicey Rem. Nicey Rem married a relative of May Williams. That's sort of the connection to May. So when May had Lillian, Sally is an elder. They kind of created this situation. Why did they create this situation? To support May? Because Green Atkinson was something else. Green Atkinson, born in 1850, was married in 1881 to a lady, had children, probably had some extra children out there, turned around, they got divorced. He married another woman in 1894. At that time, in his new marriage with another woman, he impregnated May Williams and then took off. Now, because our grandmother was born in 1895, where was he upon her birth and thereafter? I can tell you now that he was still living because he shows up in the 1900 U.S. Census in the New Bern area. However, when my grandfather married my grandmother in 1913, Green Atkinson was deceased by then. So between 1900 and 1913, he was deceased, which is why Sally shows up on the marriage certificate, because Sally went to like what they call a city hall, and she requested a marriage license for Walter Ham Sr. and Lillian Bryant so they could get married. So that's what she did, and that's the first time she appeared in any business of the Hams. So you know, she lived about another 12 years, and I have a death certificate. I'll go into detail on that here shortly. As a matter of fact, I'll pop it up on the screen. But I want my family to know that Sally Rem was very valuable. Sally Rem was an elder creating and solidifying a community that seemed to overlap between the Rems, the Hams, the Williams, and the Bryants. And probably a few other families because of the Starkey connection as well. So, wonderful lady, did a lot, and I think history shows that. If there's any Rems that are watching my video, I hope, if you may already know all this, but I saw some of your information, And it looked like that this was a spotty subject for you guys as well. So I hope that that clears it up a little bit. Kind of moved right through this pretty fast. I want to get on to the next generation because I think I cleared up some stuff. I think everybody gets it. Walter Ham Sr., Lillian Ham, they had children. That's what I'm going into next. That's the generation that brought me into this world. So that'll probably be pretty much the last generation I cover. And I'll plug in my generation very quickly, but there's not much to say because everybody that is alive has children, relatives, friends, whatever. And anybody seeing this video, once they see the next generation, plus they see our names following them, then they can say, oh, okay, there's Rusty. And oh, he went up through David, or they called him Johnny. And that's Johnny's father. And then Walter's father is Lucas, and Lucas's father is Modica. So now they can see the pathway to 200 plus years. Okay? So let me go ahead and prepare for that. I'll be right back. All right, folks, we're at the home stretch now. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up real quick for you. So, in the 1920s, my grandfather and my grandmother made the move. Just honestly, it was probably the best move that they could have ever made. They made the move from a very, very hostile New Bern, North Carolina to Freehold, New Jersey. What you see here below them is all of their children based on documentation from New Bern, North Carolina, or North Carolina in general, Freehold, New Jersey. I have an uncle, Walter Ham Jr. He was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. However, he did live down in New Bern before following the family as a child to Freehold. So, as I look at this being David Ham, born 1909 and deceased. Then you come over here, David Ham, born 1936, just passed away, which is my father, this year. He went by a nickname Johnny. This should jump out at anybody when they see this. So, let me do a quick explanation. In 1909, my grandparents gave birth to David Ham. I found that to be odd because as a child growing up, this is my dad. My dad's not born in 1909. So I didn't know any of that until last couple of years. However, I was still confused, didn't know how to go about researching it, couldn't get any answers from anywhere. So finally, I got what I think is to the bottom of it. Basically, what I'm going to say may not sound popular. However, I rather speak from facts than from feelings. In 1909, Lillian, my grandmother, was 14. My grandfather was 18. That may have been a little bit of an age problem in North Carolina. I can only imagine what the repercussions would have been. And so there started being, around this time frame, a little mixture of years being born, ages of both individuals. So basically, I started seeing where instead of my grandfather being born in 1891, he was born in 1894, 1893, maybe even 1892. So you can kind of start seeing why the protection of a fluctuating year of birth came about due to the South and the bitterness and the protections that all of our people needed at that time. So I believe that's why this became a little bit of a let's not show this so much. However, this was in a statement in North Carolina. I didn't see any North Carolina documents, so I was going to ignore it. But then in New Jersey, there was a census for the year 1940. At that time, my grandparents were living on Court Street in Freehold. That's when David Ham here reappeared. So now I have two confirmations that he was born to Walter Ham Sr. and Lillian Ham. That was enough for me. When he went on the census report, they put him down in 1940 as son, age 31. There it is. However, after that, there is no, I can't find a history on it after that. So I don't know what happened. This is my favorite uncle, Uncle Russell. Everything's pretty much self-explanatory. Still self-explanatory. Very self-explanatory here. Still the same. No questions. No questions. I know I'm bringing up something because it's probably more near and dear to my heart than to most. But if you look at this generation right here in this window, my mother is still alive. And today I'm very thankful. Sally Ann, she only lived approximately a year. One of the things about here, where you see all the green names and the green boxes, that's my generation. So, my generation, for the most part, is still alive, except for my sister and a few cousins of ours. So, where you see the dates or the years, they are no longer with us. Over here, where it says all children, this is very important to all the people that don't see their name here. More than likely, you are a child of mine, my sister's, or my other sister, or of someone here in the green box. So, if you see all children and then there's something pointing to, if you are a son, for example, Troy of Cecil, please put your name right here, start going up the line, all the way back to 1817. If you are a son of my sister Donna DeMar, put your name right here. That's your mom, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and keep going all the way back to 1817. As long as I have the capability I will continue to try to update this. I also will start sharing stories with you about your ancestry and some of the stuff they went through. I didn't feel that it would be appropriate that I start putting in the world events that caused our family to struggle, the enslavement part, in detail, so on and so forth. I tried to stay on the fringes versus going deep there because I really just wanted to make sure, while I had the energy, that all the children, all the descendants of Modica and Matilda got here somehow so that the ones living can work their way back to them. Okay? I'm back. I know that was a lot, but at the same time, it was definitely worth it. Thank you for taking this journey with me. I hope that everyone looking at this video today take a piece from it and basically do this for your family, whether you're my friend, whether you're someone that don't know me, whether you are a family member but an in-law or a distant cousin. Whatever your journey was, it started somewhere else. So please go back in time. It's worth your time. I wish you all success, and I hope this video motivated you to learn more about your family. Hey folks, once again, as I close up being here in Goldsboro, I had to put my oxygen on, as you could tell earlier, that it was a rough visit, a lot of work, my lungs can't handle it. But let me tell you something, my new family. Tommy, Donna, reminds me of my sister Donna, and people just fall into your lap, help you out on your journey. And these two, whether they adopt me or not, I adopted them. So thanks.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a great day, people.